Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakab. And I want to say Shalom to Yaakov Knockout out there, pursuing this truth diligently. Coming at you once again with another lesson. This one's titled Esau, Edom, the clock is ticking. And this is dealing with, Esau's captivity, the uprising of Jake, that's coming soon, all right? When, after World War III happens, in the midst of Jacob's trouble, and of course, Yahweh Shai comes back and delivers his people, Lord willing, we're a part of that number of the elect. And Esau is established to be on the bottom, all right, along with the other heathens, with, Esau being the lowest. And the payback starts, man. And this is inspired. I was watching, I believe it was the live camp from just I think it was the last live camp that was posted, or the one before that, actually, from Elder Natazatba, GMS South Carolina 08, down there in Myrtle Beach. I was watching it and listening. They had a part there, where this young Jake comes up. All right, look like a YN, but you just never know. You just never know, man. And the brothers were talking about it, and I said, let me go ahead and, the Spirit was on me to kind of talk about it in the same light, right? Esau and Edom's time ticking. And the scripture that I want to start off with, of course, is Revelation 13:10, which is the scripture that they were reading at that time. I got a bunch of other ones as well. But verse 10 reads, "He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here's the patience and the faith of the saints." So, this is what you got coming to you, you Edomites, right? You got a 1,000 years of torment coming your way, all right, in the form of hardcore slavery, all right, that payback. Oh, we don't want to go, that's terrible. Well, if you didn't want, what's the saying? If you didn't want to do the time, why'd you do the crime, all right? And that's what you did. You were all happy when it was us on the bottom. And when, we were being subjected to these terrible atrocities. When you were killing us. When you were lynching us. When you were doing all these terrible, horrible things to us. But now that the utterance of those things happening to you in a righteous sense, all right, of course, we're not going to be doing the weird sicko mo shit that you were doing to us. We're going to be doing it in righteousness. Now there's a problem. Now we're hateful. Oh, we're this, we're that. Well, why didn't you have a problem when you were doing it? You didn't mind. You didn't care about our cries that we had for then. All right, you've given us things that's not even barely even food. All right, you didn't care then, but now you care because it's you. Well, it's time to pay the piper. Right? You did the crime. Now it's time to do the time, and you don't want it. You never want the repercussions, and they're coming. And that repercussion is that you're going to be put into captivity. You're going to be under us. All right, the oppressor is going to be the oppressed. That's what's going to happen, man. All right, and there's nothing you can wiggle your way. There's no way you can wiggle your way out, talk your way out of it. Nothing you can do. It's just going to happen. Okay, and it's rightfully deserved. That's how it has to happen. An eye for eye, tooth for the tooth. You did those things. Now those things have to be done to you. If you didn't want those done, you shouldn't have led us into captivity. You didn't want to be killed. You shouldn't have killed. All right, and so on and so forth. So again. Revelation, what was it, 13? Yeah, 13:10. "He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here's the patience and the faith of the saints." Now, I also want to get this in the Good News Translation. It says, whoever is meant to be captured will surely be captured. Whoever is meant to be killed by the sword will surely be killed by the sword. That calls for endurance and faith on the part of Yahweh's people, which, in my personal opinion, I feel like it lost almost all of its hard meaning, all right, and it kind of made it way too soft. It's simple. People that lead in captivity are going to go into captivity, all right? The people that are killing with the sword are going to be killed with the sword. It's simple. Sometimes the Good News Translation it has a really good example. Sometimes it's really just dumbed down to the point or you kind of lose all the meaning and the power in the scriptures, right? So let's go ahead and get Jeremiah 30 and 16. And all these scriptures that we're grabbing today are really just examples of this event coming to fruition. Because you're going to have a lot, oh, that's one scripture you're bending. That, yeah, people say, oh, you bend scriptures, you do this, you do that. No. First of all, you're the one who bends scriptures, or at least doesn't understand them. And when you come over here, you think that we're bending scriptures because you've never heard them before, because you're like the elder, the big bro, was saying in the live, all right, the one before the last, you never hear the churches talk about that, right? You'll never hear them talk about that, and they don't. Okay, you never hear them talk about Jacob being in rulership. You never hear them talking about Esau going into captivity. You never really even hear them talk about the origin story of Jacob and Esau, right? You never really hear them talk about that. You never really hear them talk about how Jake is the chosen people. You of all the families of the earth have I known, right? You don't hear them really talking about those things to an extreme. So what is it that they're talking about then, right? What is it that they're talking about? Mostly spirit boosters. That's pretty much all they do there, all right? And scriptures that can be used or bent for spirit boosters, and TED Talks, all right? God is gonna help you. God is listening and waiting for you, right? That type of stuff, right? That's all you get out of that. Okay, it's like a pep rally. It helps you, get through the day a little bit. That's all, right? They don't talk about any of the meat. They don't barely even deal with the milk, right? They're basically just dealing with the silverware at this point. There's no food on the table at all. No drinks, nothing. They got the silverware. They got what you need to eat the food, but they don't have none to munch on. Okay? Nothing to drink. Sitting over there, thirsty as hell, waiting for something. But nope, it's the same things that you've been hearing the last 30 years in those churches. All right? Right? You're going to hear from God soon. Oh, you're going to hear from God soon. Right? His name's not God. His name's Yahweh. And you're going to hear from him. All right? And it ain't going to be pretty. It's not going to be some good things that you're going to hear. You'll be hearing death and destruction coming from him, because you wanted to go and worship these idols. And you don't know nothing. Jake don't know nothing, because they're, again, like I made a lesson a couple days ago, if you're learning from someone that knows 0% of something, the max you can learn from that person is 0. Same thing. If someone knows 10% of a subject, I can only learn 10% from them, nothing more. Okay? But if someone has 0, the maximum amount you can learn is 0, and 0 is nothing. So if they don't know nothing, that's gonna be to where you know nothing. There's no way you can try to pull anything out of it. If they know 0, you're gonna know 0, because they're teaching you. Well, quote unquote teach. You can't teach somebody nothing. Okay? That's kind of what teaching means. If you're teaching them something, not nothing. And that's what these people do. They don't teach them anything. They teach them nothing as far as true doctrine of the Bible goes, and salvation and things coming. 0, but they'll teach you 100% of Christian madness. All right, love everybody, just love everybody, and everybody can be saved, and God loves everyone. Come as you are. All these different types of things, man. And that's just bugged out Christian nonsense, man. So again, 16. Therefore, this is Jeremiah 30 and 16. It says, therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, its enemies, every one of them shall go into captivity. And they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. For I will restore health unto thee, and I will heal thee of thy wounds, saith the Lord, because they called thee an outcast, saying, this is Zion, whom no man seeketh after. So yeah, I got to end it there. I got to head up in. Just pulled up. But yeah, man, so they don't teach you those types of things. They don't tell you about all the people that are getting devoured. All the people that are getting devoured now are going to devour the people that are devouring them, all right? Jacob's going to be on the top. Esau's going to be on the bottom. There's going to be a roll switch. So Esau, Edom, the clock is ticking. We're going to close right there real quick. I'll piece it back together when I get back, Lord willing. When I come back, we'll be in Sabbath, so a preemptive Shabbat Shalom. I'll be back in just a minute, Lord willing. Shalom. Shalom, we're back. So, yeah, this is the second time I'm recording, because I had a whole 40 minute segment right after I got off work, and that decided to completely delete itself. So, not happy about that. But, yeah, I had a whole bunch of things that I was talking about that I don't even remember anymore, unfortunately. So we're going to get these scriptures, and unfortunately it's going to be a little shorter than it was. It was going to be like 40, 50-minute lesson, but decided to delete completely everything. None of it recorded, not in the trash, nowhere in the camera roll. It's completely gone, all right? Fucking technology is a piece of shit. So let's get Psalms 2 and 8 through 9. 2 and 8 through 9. And, yeah, it's almost 2 a.m., but I just wouldn't feel right not getting something out there. So, this is verse 8, Psalms 2 and 8. It says, Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron, thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. So, yeah, going back up to what we were talking about in Jeremiah 30 and 6, I can't even remember if I got that part in the, let me see, that's not it, Jeremiah 30 and 16, I can't remember if we got it in the Good News Translation previously, or if I did it in the other lesson another part that's now missing. I want to get it real quick, though, Jeremiah 30 and 16, let's read it again in the KJV. It says, Therefore all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity. And they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. So going into the Good News Translation, it reads, But now all who devour you will be devoured. All your enemies will be taken away as prisoners, captive to you. All who oppress you will be oppressed, and all who plunder you will be plundered. I will make you well again. I will heal your wounds. Though your enemies say, Zion is an outcast, no one cares about her. I, the Lord, have spoken. So there you go. There it is in the Good News Translation. So yeah, man. All these people that have done all these terrible things to our people, all these things are just going to happen right on back to them. Okay, they decided that they wanted to go ahead and devour us. Well, they're going to be devoured. All right, when the Lord gives us that ability to rule over them, all right, in the kingdom, they're going to get it, and it's not going to be a good situation, right? They're going to be completely under our rule, right? And they're going to be. Did I get Psalms 8 and 9 already? I think it is. Like I said, it's late, and usually I was debating if I wanted to finish it up, but like I said, I just wouldn't feel right if I didn't, because no lesson would be going out because the phone decided to glitch out. So again, Psalms 2 and 8 reads, Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron, thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. So let's get that in the Good News Translation. And that usually I'd be more, give more examples and all that stuff, but like I said, the Spirit's not on me as hot as it was at all earlier. So, and that's all gone, all because, Esau's little fuck-ass technology. So, or maybe there's something in it that said the Lord didn't want it to go out, something, who knows. But, we're powering through this one. So Psalms 2 and 8 in the Good News Translation, down through 9, says, Ask, and I will give you all the nations. The whole earth will be yours. You will break them with an iron rod. You will shatter them in pieces like a clay pot. So, you devils were all happy, all right, when you had us into captivity, when you had us under your subjection. But now when it comes time to pay the piper, you don't want to have any of it. And as I mentioned in the one that got deleted, talking about Esau never thinks they're going to be in adversity, right? Let's go and get that. I had it up here in Psalms 10 and 6. It says we'll grab it in its full capacity. If it would work, that'd be great. Fucking want to throw this phone against the wall. Psalms 10 and 6. God damn it, come on. Piece of shit ass phone. All right, Psalms 10 and 6 says, He hath said in his heart, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity. Actually, we got to read up for a little bit. This is Psalms 10 and 4. It says, The wicked through the pride of his countenance will not seek after Yahweh. Yahweh is not in all his thoughts. His ways are always grievous. Thy judgments are far above out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them. He hath said in his heart, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity. So they never think they're going to go through anything bad. They think that, they're going to do all these terrible things to us, and they're never going to be punished. They're never going to be, on the bottom or anything like that. So it says, we'll leave it at that for now. You can continue to read, and it tells you a little bit more about Esau's character, but that's the type of devil that this guy is. He does all these different things. All these heathens, really, but it's Esau, Edom that is the primary, doer of evil towards Jacob. Okay, and he's had Moab and Ishmael, and those are the big two. All right, Moab working hand in hand with Esau, and of course Ishmael and the slave trade. And that's what you've done, man. You've done all these different types of evil things towards us. And subject us all these torments, all these evil things that you've done during slavery, all right, and with feeding us abominable things, all the Jim Crow era wickedness, all right, little knickknacks and trinkets that you've made, feeding our people to alligators, feeding babies to alligators, the African dodger, right, all these different things, okay. And you think that you're somehow going to just get away with doing all those things and never going through any hell? Hell no, man. The Lord's going to get you back in full capacity. And you're going to literally shit your pants when the Lord comes back. And you see that all the shit that you've done towards Jake, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and melanated peoples, you're going to shit your pants when you see that the Lord himself is a so-called black man. You're going to literally shit and piss yourself. Literally, all right, when you see him come back. And it's not going to be good. You're going to be destroyed because you wanted to do all those things. And, hope it was worth it, Esau, because that's it. That's your ass, man. So let's get Isaiah 14 and 1. And I love this whole chapter. I get it quite frequently. So here we go again. Isaiah 14 and 1, it says, For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land. And the strangers will be and the strangers shall be joined with them. And if you look up strangers in the Strongs, all right, you get in the Strongs, strangers, it means a sojourner in Israel. All right, so someone who is not native to Israel, i.e. a heathen, right? And the strangers, heathens, shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob, and the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. And it shall come to pass in the day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow, and from thy fear, and from the hard bondage wherein thou was made to serve, that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon, and say, How hath the oppressor ceased, the golden city ceased? The Lord hath broken the staff of the wicked, and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger, is persecuted, and none hindereth. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. And I always mention that sounds like something from a Disney movie, man. Whereas the people are going to be we're going to be at so much rest, right, that we're going to be, singing and dancing and having a great time, because the earth's finally going to be at rest. The earth right now is essentially diseased, man. The lakes are polluted. The air is polluted. All right, the grass is, all full of toxins and chemicals and defiled, right? But, everything's going to be purified and made better. And, we're going to be happy. The earth is going to be at rest again, man. So, let's get this in the Good News Translation. And it says, in verse 1, Isaiah 14 and 1, it says, The Lord will once again be merciful to his people Israel and choose them as his own. He will let them live in their own land again, and foreigners will come and live there with them. Many nations will help the people of Israel return to the land which the Lord gave them, and there the nations will serve Israel as slaves. Those who once captured Israel will now be captured by Israel, and the people of Israel will rule over those who once oppressed them. The Lord will give the people of Israel relief from their pain and suffering and from the hard work they were forced to do. When he does this, they are to mock the king of Babylonia and say, "The cruel king has fallen. He will never oppress anyone again." The Lord has ended the power of the evil rulers who angrily oppressed the peoples and never stopped persecuting the nations they had conquered. Now at last the whole world enjoys rest and peace, and everyone sings for joy. And they kind of good and bad definition. Not everyone's going to be at peace. Well, I mean, really, after the 1,000 years of hardcore captivity that all these devils are going to do, notably Esau, Edom, the heathens are going to do it as well, but the other heathens. But after the 1,000 years, Esau, Edom is the only nation that's not going to receive any mercy from the Most High. All right. The other nations, they're going to have their own little lands, and they're going to be under our rulership. But these devils, Esau, Edom, because they're profane, all right? No one is profane as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. And, the Lord's not in all their thoughts. That's who these devils are. They're evil. They're ungodly, all right? And that's really what profane goes back to, is being ungodly, immoral, all right, corrupt. And they're profane. They're evil, all right? And they're never going to change their ways. They're just going to have to be gathered and destroyed, all right, which is what we're just about to talk about in Obadiah 1 and 18. So let's go over there. Obadiah 1 and 18, which reads, and we'll get from verse 15. It says, "For the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head. For as ye have drunk upon my holy mountain, so shall all the heathen drink continually. Yea, they shall drink, and they shall swallow down, and they shall be as though they had not been." Let me read that again. "Yea, they shall drink, and they shall swallow down, and they shall be as though they had not been. But upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions, and the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining out of the house of Esau, for the Lord hath spoken it." So let's go get that in the Good News Translation, see what that has to say. It says, "The day is near when I, the Lord, will judge all nations. Edom, what you have done will be done to you. You will get back what you have given. My people have drunk a bitter cup of punishment on my sacred hill, but all the surrounding nations will drink a still more bitter cup of punishment. They will drink it all and vanish away. But on Mount Zion some will escape, and it will be a sacred place. The people of Jacob will possess the land that is theirs by right. The people of Jacob and Joseph will be like fire. They will destroy the people of Esau. As fire burns stubble, no descendant of Esau will survive. I, the Lord, hath spoken." Boom. So all you devils, you had all this fun and joy from devouring us and tormenting us and doing all these sick different things to us and sick experiments and, like the Tuskegee experiments and so on and so forth, and all these all these little lakes that were once, beautiful so-called black towns. All right, but you got a nice lake now, right? And all those things, man. Your system's failing, all right? Your system is completely failing, all right? And you're not even cool anymore. I was at a movie with the wife just the other day called The Lady in the Yard. Not a great movie, all right? But it has some things. I mean, it's a great example of the so-called black woman, all right? The ninja woman. It's a fantastic example of her, all right? Just fucking everything up, all right? But it wasn't that great of a movie. But I'll spare you a lot of the details so I don't, spoil anything. But we got there in the, it's an all-black cast in that movie, for the most part. There's one white guy, but he just, wait, no, that was a different movie I'm thinking of. No, there was no white guy. I'm thinking of a different show, Slakia. But, there's, an all-black cast, and, before the movie started, all the previews that were shown were all black movies. Now, it could just be because, Woman in the Yard is an all black cast. So it could be that they showed that, because they're targeting that audience. But, I went, looked over to my wife and I whispered to her, I said, I could see why Esau, is getting pissed these days. They go and turn on, the TV and it's all black people. And, and you go to all the popular music, rap's the most popular music with black people. Football and basketball is the most popular sport, black people. All right, you got Jake in the music, the movies. They get all mad. Esau gets all mad with the games and stuff. That the new Assassin's Creed. All right, that people were bitching and complaining about. I made a lesson on that. Apparently, it turned out to be a pretty decent game. All right, I mean it's just fucking Assassin's Creed. Once you play one, you play them all. But apparently it's a pretty good one. Everyone say, oh, it's gonna be shit. It's gonna be shit. But no, they were like, this one's actually where a step in the right direction. It's better than the last couple, apparently, I think, what I heard. Like, damn, okay. All right. And everyone wanted to bitch and complain because it was a black, he was a retainer. The guy, because, first of all, he's based on a real guy. He's not Japanese. Well, he was a Japanese guy. He was a black Japanese man. All right. And I can't remember if I read a little bit. I don't remember if he was descendant of the Moors or however it was. I'd assume so. And, he was a retainer, and people were, that's not even a real samurai. Well, if you looked it up, you fucking idiot. All right, samurais, retainers were basically samurais. All right, a form of samurai. All right, they were not a full samurai, but they were a form of samurai. Right, you can go and look it up. And people were mad about that. People were mad about Jax in Mortal Kombat 11 when he went out back in history, and he ended the slave trade. And his little scene was him in Africa with all black people. And Esau got mad. See, looks all black. Well, he's in Africa, you dipshit. All right? My wife was mentioning that the other day. He's in Africa, you dipshit. And he made it to, where that never happened. So they never got colonized. So why would white people be over in Africa? White people weren't in Africa. They weren't there. They have to be included in everything. Everything, man. All right, but they don't want to include Jake in everything. But if Esau has their own thing, they shouldn't have to include Jake. But if Jake has something, they should have to include Esau. They're fucking children, man. All right, and like I mentioned, you're gonna say all these different things you say about so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. You guys are gonna shit your pants when the end comes, and you see, Yahushua crack open that sky, and you see him here as a melanated so-called black man. You're literally gonna dookie on yourself, man. All right. And, we're going to be laughing our ass off. All right? Lord willing, we're on the chariots and part of the elect. Right? Lord willing, me and my wife and, and you and your wife and family, make it. All right? And, man, we're going to be laughing our ass off up there. Because you have this dude saying all sorts of different types of shit, calling us all sorts of slurs and all that different type of shit. And, you monkey motherfuckers. And the same type of motherfuckers that comment on YouTube videos and say shit like usual suspects, or what do they say, that 13% of the population, 70% of the crime, and all these different things, usually, apes and animals and all these different types of things. Keep that same energy, man. All right, you Christians that are calling on white Jesus and saying all these different, you're praying in that name. You're going to be trying to pray in that and call on that name, Jeebus. Right? You're going to try to call on that name, and it's not going to do shit for you in the end. Right? Because, Lord is his, the son's name, his name is Yahushua. It ain't no Jesus. So you can keep calling on that J word all you want, and it ain't going to do shit for you, man. All right? You're going to be sitting there screaming that name, please, please. The white man ain't going to come, that white, long-haired, fake person ain't gonna. He doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. That's just a fucking thief. All right, that J word is a thief. All right, he's a thief. He came and you put him up and stole all of the miracles that Yahushua performed and attributed them to this fake ass Jesus. Right, So he ain't going to be able to help you because he don't exist. Yahushua exists, but he's not going to help you because you're an Edomite. And you said all these things, N-word this, N-word that, jigaboo this, jigaboo that. And he's not going to help you. You're going to be destroyed, right? And it's not even, and Jake, as we get closer and closer to the end, you see Jake, you see influence of Jake starting to be more prominent, right? All the movies, all the music, right? You got Lewis Hamilton now, is being one of the top F1 drivers, and they hate him because F1 used to be all white and, some Spanish people, right? Which are still Edomites. And then he hired a black woman assistant, and then now NASCAR's got their first black female pit crew member, and, now Jake's getting into hockey. I know they're pissed about that, and, it's not cool to be white anymore. It's, every group you see has to have a black kid in it, or you got to be mixed. The white kids aren't cool. It's not cool to be white. You got to be mixed, right? And, the scripture, Jacob is, Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of that which follow. We're starting to see that influence a little bit as we get closer and closer to the end. It's his kingdom, and here it is. They're not even popular. You're not even popular in your own kingdom. It's cooler to be black. Your women want to get with black men. It's been proven. Your women want to get with black men. So you want to get with you want to get with our women. You want to get with our women. Jake's going to get with every type of women, man. Jake's going to get with every type of women. Okay? But your women, they specifically want to get with the black man. Black men, white women, black women, Asian women, Latina, all sorts of different flavors. Okay? But your women specifically, they don't want to get with anybody else. They want to get with a so-called black man, a tall, dark, handsome black man. Right? That's who they want to get with, these Edomite women. And more and more time at my job, I'll see a woman come in to deal with the front desk, all right, without giving too much information away. And she'll be talking on the phone, and she walks away. She'll be on, I'll see her, and there's this lady, she was on FaceTime with this black guy. I said, oh, she must be, getting her a little bit of that little bit of that coffee up in her cup, right? And I know that pisses these Edomites off, man. So they're not even popular in their own kingdom. How terrible is that? How terrible is that? So yeah, man. Esau, Edom, your clock is ticking, man. It's tick, 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 and your destruction is gonna come because all this wickedness that you've done. You want to do all these things and lead us into captivity? Well, guess what? You're going to go in captivity. You want to devour us? You're going to be devoured, right? You wanted to oppress us? You're going to be oppressed. And then you're going to be gathered and burned. You're the only nation that's not going to receive any mercy at all. After 1,000 years, the heathens are going to go in their own land and be under our rulership. That's form of mercy. They're not going to be doing that hardcore slavery. But after that 1,000 years, you get to go away. Boom, vanish, never to return again. No mercy ever. Because you're evil, you're profane, you're wicked. And your clock is ticking, man. Esau, Edom, clock is ticking. So that's where we're going to go ahead and close out. Lord one was edifying. Slakia, I wasn't super energetic or anything like that. Slakia, I did basically had to do the lesson twice. And then on top of that, today was a long-ass day at work. Just a hell. Boss ended up leaving a bunch of shit. So I am completely and thoroughly drained. But I wouldn't have felt right leaving this lesson unfinished. So Lord wants still edifying, even though, I'm not as energetic as I usually am. So yeah, man, Esau, Edom, the clock is ticking. So again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem HaKakwadash. I want to say shalom to you brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring. Keep the faith. We're almost out of here. These devils ain't going to get theirs, man. It ain't going to be good. And, Lord willing, we be on those chariots watching their downfall. Till next one, Lord willing, shalom.